support costs obviously near and dear to our heart.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few people that are taking a hard look at that, and there's a few strategies within that. But what's the experience of some of your customers there?
So for most of our customers, they've actually at least engaged in independent support to figure out what opportunities are out there. Right? And once you do the numbers and you do the math, you say, oh my God, why am I spending all this money? And when can I stop paying for all this? So that's the first question they ask themselves. And the second question is like, okay, what's our relationship status? Right? In our application strategy, are we keeping the vendor? Are we holding on or parking that vendor for a while? Are we going to innovate with them as a partner going forward? And you have to answer those questions. But when you go to independent support, what's interesting is you now have the option of time. Right? You can free up time and you can also free up money. And by doing that, you can wait it out and say, hey, I'm not ready to make the move. Why do I feel pressured? And once you get onto independent support, the customers are like, well, I'm not getting pressured anymore.
Yeah.
I have options. I can go to someone else. I can build a new relationship with this vendor, or I can actually just wait.
Right. And you actually started to get into an interesting topic, which is how does your vendor relationship change? So let's say you're an Oracle or SAP customer, and you take an assessment and decide, hey, independent or third-party support makes sense for me. How does in your experience with your customers, how does the relationship change? I think there's some fear. There may be retribution. It may be really hard to get new licenses. Will they sell me new licenses? And in our experience, that's not the case, but I'm curious to hear what your experience is.
There's that classic chart of forming, storming, norming, and performing. Yeah. That's exactly what happens, right? It starts out like, what do you mean? And so the sales reps are like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They don't think you're serious. Yeah. So they don't take you serious. And then finally you show them something and say, hey, look, we could save this much, anywhere from 20, 30, 40, even 50% of the cost savings. What are you guys going to do about it? Then that's the storming. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to never talk to you again. We're going to threaten you. We'll go through that process. Then we finally get to some level of norming, right? So, and that norming process is like, okay, that sales rep is now off your account. They're not bugging you. They don't have the quota on you anymore because they've written you off now that you're on independent support. Yeah. And you can renew the relationship because now when you go to them, you have something to buy. And that's like brand new revenue. And so the sales reps are suddenly happy to see you again. So over a course of about, let's say 18 to 24 months, you've gone from we hate you to, hey, we'd love to talk to you. Come out, grab dinner with us. Talk about what your plans are, right? So it becomes a much more productive relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'd be curious on your experience, but I've heard from many CIOs that I never had as much leverage with the software vendor as the day I left maintenance.
Yes, the day you left maintenance, you have more power than you ever know. And please, don't consolidate your contracts. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, what happens there? What do people end up doing?
When you consolidate your contracts, think you can get a better deal, that's like a one-time shot. You can't take and peel off vendors as you need to, right? Or products as you need to, or divisions as you need to. You're completely hamstrung, especially when you think about post-integration or mergers and acquisitions. You do not want to consolidate contracts. Keep those things as separate as you can.
Got it. So if you combine them, you lose the flexibility then.
You lose all leverage and you lose flexibility.
Yeah, interesting. Now, another part of that vendor relationship, which interestingly enough from our perspective, what we've heard is it continues to be pretty good, in fact, after leaving support, because you're still a licensed customer, right? Yeah. Right, for sure, a licensee of the software. But there's sometimes a question, what happens in 5 years? What happens in 10 years if when I make my next platform decision, I decide to go back to my existing vendor? Do I have to pay back maintenance? How is that going to work?
So in most cases, we don't see back maintenance being applied. I mean, I can't think of a case, but they want your business. They really do. Yeah. So if back maintenance is the issue between you selecting them versus someone else, not going to happen. Right? Yeah. And so in most cases, I wouldn't even worry about it.